because I do 1,300 crunches and sit-ups 4 times a week.
What's a dose? Can you translate for us?
Winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Ernie Els.
I'm just looking here. It's India just beat Bangladesh. So that's your latest in your cricket.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yes,
Carl, welcome back to the Goat Track. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. It's good to
I
be
feel
back.
like I'm trying my hardest to get all three of us on simultaneously, but it's like herding cats, trying to get you guys on at the same time.
No, it's hectic.
And you haven't even had your baby yet, so
I know.
I might be doing a solo podcast, looking in the mirror.
Oh, you never know. You and Jerome.
Yeah, it might become a guest only podcast.
Classic.
Yeah, jeez. How's it going? Have you managed to catch your breath since the weekend of what they're calling the greatest weekend of rugby of all time?
Yeah, it's taken some getting used to getting back to ordinary life, I must say, after that weekend. There were a couple of memes that I saw that were sort of hit the nail on the head with Springbok fans after the game, like trying to drink a glass of water and just spilling it all over the show because they were shaking so much, which is exactly how I felt. To be honest, I said to Jacques, I said I was actually more, I was looking forward to Saturday more than I was to Sunday, Saturday's game, the Ireland-New Zealand game, because I thought it would be less stressful than Sunday, and to a degree it was, but shit, that Saturday game was stressful as well, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, they were equally as stressful, and I'm glad to hear that because, I was obviously in a very unique position watching the games, but obviously we were stressed out to the max, and I'm glad to hear it was as stressful on TV.
Flipping hell.
I mean,
that's a once in a lifetime for you, though.
Yeah, just so people know what I'm talking about. I was ridiculously fortunate to be in Germany for a week prior to last weekend, and then the stars aligned with a few people, and I want to shout out to my brother in particular who flew up to Paris from Cape Town and managed to hustle some tickets through all of his friends and connections. And yeah, next thing I knew, I was in Paris on Saturday morning, and there we were, and we went to both the games, and it was
the games. I thought you went to the Springbok game only. That is wild. My word.
Yeah, we went to both the games.
So you lived the greatest weekend of rugby ever live.
I was saying to my brother, I haven't actually watched that much Springbok rugby live. I always seem to miss the boat. I'm not like a crazy, I suppose, frontline fan. I mean, I'm a big fan, obviously, but I could sort of count almost on one hand the number of Springbok tests that I've seen live. I mean, I hadn't seen one for a number of years, and I think that was the first test match I've watched of a non-South when South Africa wasn't playing that Ireland-New Zealand game. I'm not sure if I've ever been to a test of two other countries. So to have those two tests as tests that I saw in a row it was unbelieving.
Wild.
Yeah, wild. And I mean, there was some nice sort of previewing with the Wales Argentina game, which was a nice little, I suppose, aperitif.
Precursor.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
they were very much curtain raisers.
The curtain raiser. That's a good. Yeah, the B division put on a pretty good show for us.
The dirt trackers.
Yeah.
No,
the Shield. What do they call that in the sevens? They play for the Shield.
the plate, the bowl,
The plate.
the shield.
Yeah, I don't know which
I'd say
which one was which. I mean, it's sounding
probably
very
the plate.
cocky now, and we're playing against one of those teams on Saturdays, which, you know, we can get into how you're feeling about that, but yeah, it was remarkable, hey, and I must say the one thing that was really in our favor was I think being able to go to the game on Saturday and just enjoy the rugby, knowing that we had the Springbok game on Sunday, which we were obviously going to be a lot more stressed about. It made the Saturday experience kind of enjoyable, whereas we saw quite a lot of Irish fans at the game on Sunday, and they were just fucking miserable, to be honest with you. They were just like they were like super hungover, and just they were like, oh, you know, don't really care who wins. Quite a few Irish fans trying to sell tickets on Sunday, like around Paris. So I think the way around that we had it was epic, and then obviously to have that result, I mean, it was like it feels like sort of a bit of a once in a lifetime experience.
Nah, I can imagine. I'm
Yeah.
hugely jealous. I mean, I was jealous of you knowing that you went to the Springbok game. Now that I know that you've gone to both, I mean, yeah, that's jackpot stuff. Jackpot.
I must say, like, just going into the games, like, or just one of my overarching takeaways, having been kind of at the stadiums, at the stadium and engaging with the fans, and that I think that like the Irish and the French fans obviously brought so much energy to the World Cup. Obviously, I think everyone's seen the Irish fans on TV, and in person, like it doesn't disappoint. Obviously, like they are just as rowdy and as enjoyable as they kind of are on TV. And then obviously the French fans being a home World Cup for them. To some degree, I think there's certainly quite a bit of a vacuum that's, quite a bit has been sucked out now of the World Cup. And I was super bleak about the Irish New Zealand result. Not with the South African hat on at all, but I genuinely really wanted Ireland to win that game. We were sitting with a whole crowd of Irish supporters, and I felt super gutted for them. I mean, it was obviously the Ireland didn't play, I think, to their full potential. And it was just tough. It's just tough seeing, they've lost, I think, is it 8 quarterfinals in a row now? And the fans were just like if they weren't going to win this one, I think they sort of feel like that's never going to happen. It's a bit like Cricket World Cup for us.
So maybe a bit of an unpopular take from my side, but I was fully behind the All Blacks, so that might make for some interesting dialogue. I agree. I mean, the fans sounded absolutely epic. I mean, that Ireland South Africa game. I mean, I wasn't there, but I mean, from what I could see on the TV, it was just insane, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And that obviously carried through. What I will say about the French, and I'm sure there will be a bit of a vacuum, as you say, but they are so good at supporting things and so good at supporting tournaments. I think we even spoke about it on a previous pod. I mean, just look at every single game. It doesn't matter what the game is, who it is. It's been packed to the rafters. And they've got behind teams like Fiji and all of that kind of thing. It's been absolutely epic. So I think that'll continue. I think there will be a little bit of energy lost. But I think that'll continue. I hope they get behind us. I think they will, for the England game especially. I'm not so sure who they're backing on the other side. But, I mean, you compare that to the Cricket World Cup, where there's like 100 people in the stadium unless India is playing. It's been quite hectic.
The French crowds have been remarkable, and I think that it's a real testament to them. And the value and look, obviously there's quite a bit of talk has been around the fact that this was the World Cup that South Africa basically had more or less stolen from them. And it's funny, we chatted about that quite a bit in Paris, and some of the guys that I was with seemed to know quite a bit more about it than I did. But I mean, more or less, the person who kind of orchestrated that whole bid for France is apparently now in jail, like on like corruption
Well,
charges. So like
with
it was
any of these tournaments, it's par for the course.
I mean, look, I that's a completely unsubstantiated rumor, but that was what I was told.
I don't think we have enough listeners to get sued yet.
Yeah, exactly. So so anyway, we were talking about how, whether they was going to fire us up and whatever. But Carl, I love South African fans, and I would love us to have a World Cup here. But gosh, I can't see us putting on a spectacle
Show like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's great is the access to a lot of the other countries, right? So like the guys from the UK just pop over for the weekend for games,
Yeah, and even traveling around the country, it must be pretty easy, trains and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's simple.
It's first world, and you're walking around Paris. I mean, they've got these epic fan parks that they've set up. So
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan. Not that I'm not the biggest fan, but I mean, Olympic Games. I like the Olympics, but I'm not like the biggest fan of the Olympics. But I reckon next year's Olympics in Paris is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah,
because those like they support everything. It's incredible.
Absolutely, yeah. And they're already pretty psyched about that there. When I was there, a lot of the Parisians we spoke to were like, "Oh, we'll see you next year." So I said, "Listen, our Olympics is not quite on the same level as our rugby. Just FYI, unless they still do sevens in the Olympics, which I think they might. I'm not sure."
Yeah, look, you're not going to travel over for like badminton.
Yeah, but that setup, and my brother did this in 2007 when he was living in London. They basically did what we did this last weekend, where they didn't know which quarterfinal we were going to be in, and they booked both, and they always have them in the same location, essentially to cater for travelers. And it's such a great, I would look at, if there was another Continental World Cup, I would look at doing that again, because you get the vibe of going to two matches. Essentially pretty much 100% chance that South Africa will be playing in one of the matches. And
different fans.
So you got four different countries. It was really, really, really good.
Yeah, and I mean it's the two top quarterfinals out of the four.
Yeah,
so,
just the way it turned out. Yeah,
that's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah. So just talking about the Irish fans a little bit. The Irish and the French fans, they were definitely pretty confident. They were
fair enough.
Borderline cocky, which is fine, and that, to be honest, that's also kind of part of the banter as well. I think the way that both those teams had played so far in the World Cup, they kind of earned that mantle. When I arrived to my seat, and there were obviously a lot of South Africans at the Irish game. Most people were wearing some sort of Springbok attire, just kind of revving up for the weekend. And I got a lot of chirps from the Irish fans, like sitting down. We were sitting right in the middle of them, and they were like, "Oh, this is the winner of Pool B, not the second place. You tomorrow night,
That's
so
funny.
I said, "Listen, I'm wearing green. Don't make me put a black shirt on." But no, they were good guys, and as I say, I mean, I was a bit gutted. They got good songs. They're just like quite a lively crowd. The French, I don't know if it came across on TV, but the French crowd were quite feisty, and they were quite good vibe before the game and that. But they were like very. They were hurling a lot of abuse at Springbok fans, and also at like the ref. The ref was getting a lot of abuse. I know that they felt a bit hard done by, but
they are usually very partisan though, so that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
It probably helps that you don't understand half the shit that they're hurling at you, so that's fine. But I mean, I struggle to actually remember like the crowd, because it's just so nervous the whole time. The whole game was like on a knife edge. It was actually horrible from that perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, it was late, obviously quite late here in South Africa. Not that it would have been a different time, but obviously we had work the next day. And I mean, that game ended, and for like 2 hours afterwards, you're like lying in your bed, like shaking,
Yeah.
Like, what the hell just happened?
I can tell you now, I wasn't lying in my bed 2 hours after the game.
No, I can imagine not. Different kind of post-match
I was
vibe.
upright at a pub. Yeah.
Yes, that's the only way.
No,
Yeah.
I've got a video of my brother. So he was sitting directly behind me, and like as they kicked out that ball, I took like a sort of like a selfie video of just like all the South Africans going like crazy, like around us. And my brother was just standing there with like his hands on his mouth like this, and he was like in complete disbelief. Like he didn't even crack a smile for like 3 minutes. He was just like he was
Yeah.
done. He was so fucking done. It was I'll never forget that. He was he was nowhere. And there was one French fan. Like we were sitting in a big block. So it's like big block of South Africans, and then right next to me and my brother, like down the side, was just a big block of French fans. So it was almost that like football kind of vibe, And I mean, the whole game, it was like they were up and then we were up. And so there was this toing and froing. And I was having good banter with the French guys next to me and that. But there was one French guy, like a couple rows down below us, who like started like, things started getting a bit tense. Like he started like really shouting at South African Oaks in their faces or whatever. And after the game, I think one of the South African Oaks just popped him like a little like comment or whatever, and this Oak just like lost it. He's just like try to climb over and get stuck into these South Africans, and luckily his mates just like calmed him down, and then the guy was just like sitting there in his chair with like his hands in his head, and it was quite sad.
And tell me, what was Stade de France like?
Yeah, very very epic. Didn't disappoint at all. Yeah, very epic. I was surprised that like around that area, it was also I wasn't sure what to expect, but around that area, it was there were like lots of pubs and bars, and there was lots going on in that area. So a lot of people got there early, and would watch the other game that was on. They had like a fan park, about half a kilometer down the road. That's
what's it called? Saint Denis or something like that.
Yeah, Saint Denis. Yeah, look, it's obviously a little bit out of town, but that's to be expected. But so yeah, the commute and I don't know why the French love playing rugby so late. I don't know what the deal with this 9 o'clock
always is.
Because,
and a Sunday. I mean, come on.
Because like, yeah, okay, I know. Obviously, if you're watching here and you've got work on Monday, but like, you're spending the whole day like waiting for this game. So like you have your first beer at sort of like lunchtime, and you're like, fuck, I've got like still got like 9 hours to kill. I better like take it easy. And yes, as we saw quite a few South Africans, like guys getting stuck into like brandy and cokes at like 2 o'clock, and you see a couple
like
Oaks who like
soon.
looking wobbly, and I'll never forget this one guy. We were sat down next to them in a restaurant. We just like went there for lunch, and I mean these Oaks just had empty glasses all around them or whatever, and this guy like stood up and he was like literally bobbing and weaving, like Mike Tyson, and he just looks at us and he's like, "No gaan ons braai," and then he just like stumbles onto the road, and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I said to my butts, I said, "Yes, I don't think that Oak's making kickoff."
He's not making it.
Imagine going all the way there, and
no man.
Yeah, apparently the flights, a couple of the flights on Wednesday and Thursday night from Joburg to Paris were, guys reckon they were super rowdy. Like Oaks, they ran out of booze on the plane. It was like proper Oaks getting
That's funny.
First night fever, big time. Yeah. So
yeah,
but yeah,
nice.
what an experience. And I mean, yeah, the games were I suppose just briefly, I haven't rewatched any of the games yet. I watched a little bit of the highlights of the South African game, but Ireland, I don't know what your take was, but Ireland obviously started like they definitely looked a bit nervous.
Yeah, I think the All Blacks were also super up for it. I think they had taken their series loss in Ireland pretty personally. They had taken quite a bit of abuse, because of losing their first pool game ever, losing to France. So So they certainly looked up for it. I mean, Ireland also, I mean, they're such a good team. As much as they maybe looked a little bit nervous to start with, they didn't look rattled. They sort of, you could see they trusted themselves and trusted their team, and they just worked their way back into it.
They did.
And at that stage, I was like, oh shit, these oaks are they might actually take this quite easily. And obviously, New Zealand, it was kind of the same thing, toing and froing and all of that. I mean, the only reason why you mentioned it earlier that the Irish were quite arrogant or whatever, which is fine. But I mean, that's the whole reason why I was supporting New Zealand, is because I'd spent the week, looking through media and all of that, and certainly since the Ireland South Africa game, and just the way they reacted to beating us, it just ticked me off so badly, because they've earned nothing in any World Cup they've ever played in. And next thing they were talking about how, is Johnny Sexton better than Dan Carter? Who do we prefer in the final? I was like, cheapest guys, you've never got past the quarterfinal, and you've got the All Blacks. It's not the greatest All Black side of all time, but it's still a damn good All Black side. And you're starting to talk about all of this. So I'd made my mind up pretty early that I was going to get fully behind New Zealand. So that was my reasoning for New Zealand. And also, I mean, Ireland beat us 13-8. It was a very, very 50-50 game. We could have won that game. But if you hadn't watched the game and you read all of their reports, you would have been damn sure that it was 55-8. The way they acted.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, an absolute cracker of a game. Two unbelievable teams. And as I say, I mean, I was like super stoked to have that game on, and I was like, this is going to be a really good sort of start to the weekend, and I'm not going to feel any kind of nerves because I don't really care. And next thing, I'm sitting there on the couch flipping, like shaking as well on Saturday night. It was insane. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah. Look, I suppose, to be fair to Ireland, I mean, some of that sort of cockiness also, I mean, comes from the fact that they it really is an amazing. They really had an amazing side, and I mean they'd gone 17 matches unbeaten in that span. So I guess they were feeling like they were really at the peak of their powers.
And I think they were. I really do.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're going to get a better chance than this. They're losing it.
I got to be honest. Like I wholeheartedly supported Ireland, but like Johnny Sexton, like no thank you. Like he irritates the shit out of me. I just can't get behind that guy at all, I'm afraid. I've never really liked him, and just during this World Cup he's really got under my skin. And the way, as you say, the way they talk about him, I mean, essentially all he does is like loop passes and kicks for goal. Like, that's all I've seen basically. And if he runs for the line, it's only when they're about 3 meters from the line, and he's trying to like.
I think he is the real deal. I think he's had an unbelievable career. I agree. I don't like the Oak for shit. That's for sure. I think talking about him in the same circles as Dan Carter is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think he laces Dan Carter's boots. But that's the kind of arrogance that they had, and he's quite a bad loser as well, Johnny Sexton. He's prone to outbursts when he doesn't get his own way.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a really, really good Irish side. It was well drilled. They played unbelievable on the night as well. I think they'd maybe set themselves up for failure a little bit in some of the trash talking that they had done to the All Blacks. Peter O'Mahony saying to Sam Cane in New Zealand last year, "You're just a shit Richie McCaw," and all of that kind of stuff. It's all good saying that in series, but when it comes down to a World Cup quarterfinal, and you've never got past a quarterfinal in the history of the entire tournament, those things don't age well. But look, valiant effort. I do wish that it was a semi-final. I think it deserved to be a semi-final. If you look at the other quarterfinals, not that the other two quarterfinals, I'm excluding the South African one at this stage, not that the other two quarterfinals were bad games. It's just it wasn't the same quality, sides.
It's like apples versus apples, or it's like apples versus apples and oranges versus oranges. It was definitely two different uh, it is going to be interesting to see. I mean, not trying to get ahead of myself here, and I certainly am not a South African who's like thinking about the final. I think the England game is still. I'm massively nervous about that game just because of the way that England play and that. But potentially it could be like a very boring like weekend. You know, like New Zealand could
massacre.
Could put like 30 past Argentina, and I think we could really. I don't know what the bookies have the spread at, but like I mean I don't think it's impossible to see us. You know, if we win that game, it's a sort of game where if we win, we could easily win it by like 20 plus, and if they win, it will be by like 2 or 3 sort of thing. So yeah, I mean,
look,
that's just how the draws
think
worked.
If they are going to win, it's going to have to be unbelievably ugly if England are going to beat us. That's reality. I mean, they are such a shit side. It is ridiculous. They've made the semi-final. They haven't played, no disrespect to Argentina. They're not the greatest Argentine side, even though they're in the semi-final. Similar sort of story. Fiji, absolutely unbelievable World Cup. Won a lot of fans, played unbelievable rugby, but still not, that kind of quality. So England have benefited. And look, I mean, you have to give credit to them as well, because, I mean, they didn't choose the draw. They can only play what's in front of them. But the reality is that they haven't had anywhere near the kind of games that New Zealand, South Africa, Ireland, France have had in this tournament.
Yeah.
And so if they are going to beat us, they're going to have to get down and dirty and absolutely scrape through. And I agree. I think if we play well on the day, and we bully them as we should bully them, then I think it could get a bit nasty. Maybe the occasion will keep the score in check, perhaps. The fact that it's a semi-final, you look at 2007 World Cup, where we absolutely drilled them in the pool game, and then played them in the final, and I think the occasion made it a lot closer than it should have been. I mean, we should have drilled them again.
Yeah.
So that's, for me, I mean, I'm not thinking about the final either, and I think this has the potential to be a banana skin, but we are a much, much, much better side than this particular England side. Not to mention the fact that there are extremely unlikable players that are wearing that white shirt. It is absolutely unreal. I mean, Owen Farrell, let's be honest, I don't think he has a single fan outside of England. And even in England, it sounds like there's a lot of people that hate him. And if they play Marcus Smith at fullback, I mean, that oak has the biggest hit me face the world of sport has ever seen. I don't know what that hairstyle is, and I hope they do play him.
Well, he's not playing. He's not even in the 22 on the squad for the game.
Okay, because I was trying to see when they were naming their team, and I was hoping he was going to play, because we would have absolutely fucking drilled him. Are they playing Freddie Stewart?
Yeah, they're playing.
That's
Freddie
a different
Stewart.
story.
So he's a bit more of a solid conventional.
Yeah,
fullback.
he's tall, he's strong, he's good in the air. I would have been very surprised if they played Marcus Smith, but I was hoping they would.
I think the Fijians banged him up a bit. He was looking.
They banged him up a bit.
He was looking like a crash test dummy after that final whistle.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was funny, Carl, at the fan park. So we watched the England Fiji game, and obviously that Fiji had that epic comeback, and all, I mean, everyone there was supporting Fiji, as you can imagine, and
for sure.
And eventually, England win or whatever. There's like one guy in the middle of this whole fan park who's like, he like starts celebrating. Like it's like you could hear a pin drop there. It was so bad, and I can tell you now, the French fans have told me, like not just from what you hear, but I had like French people telling me, they were like, listen, like we are like 100% supporting the Springboks next weekend. Like there's not even a shadow of a doubt. Even though they just lost to us, they're like, under no fucking circumstances are we supporting England. Like they were just like, it's a bridge too far. If it was us and the All Blacks, I think that they would be split. But they're just.
I saw a thing.
England are like a hated side.
Yeah, I saw a thing as well, saying, some article from some English paper saying, like, they call them the home nations. They don't call them the They're like, the other home nations should just suck up their pride and support England. And you just saw this poll on the page, like, if you're not English, are you supporting England? And it was like 99% no. I mean, those Oaks, it's ridiculous how hated they are.
Yeah, if it was one of the other home nations, it might be a different story,
100%.
But
100%. If it was Wales or something like that. But
it's a combination
not
of just kind of old school, sort of traditional
Bitterness.
hatred of England, and then just as you say, they've got a couple of real buttes in their side that you just want to smash with a frying pan.
No, they're awful, and the rugby that they play is awful, and
yeah,
it's. I really hope that we drill them. I really do.
Yeah,
I don't want to just win by like 2 or 3 points. I really want to drill them.
Yeah, I actually was thinking about that today, and I was thinking I am nervous about it because I'm not like. I don't like getting too ahead of myself, and I'm sure that the Box are not going to do that. But I was thinking today, I was like, look, the French game was never going to be more than like 6 or 8 points, probably either way. But that English game, like potentially, I was thinking, we could actually give them, like 25, and I was thinking that'd be pretty amazing if we could do that. Of course, winning is the first priority, and not getting dragged into.
Although, I mean, you say that French game was always going to be close. I mean, the way they started that game, I was nipping. I was shitting myself because they scored quickly and they looked like they were going to score again, and it almost had the feeling to the start of the game similar to how that New Zealand-South Africa game earlier this year, and I think it was in Auckland, started where New Zealand pumped us. And I was like, the pace that the French started at was
incredible.
Scary. It terrified me.
Yeah.
And
South
Africa just hung in there.
It got the crowd.
That's the bottom line.
It was the perfect start for France because it just got the crowd like going. And I agree. Like yes, it's me and my brother were nipping. And I mean that Eben Etzebeth like freaking octopus arm thing. I mean that was essentially the difference between us being 14-0 down and the French crowd were not happy about that, and then within a couple of minutes, we got the bounce of the ball with that up and under. I mean, the one thing I will say is that like we definitely strategically picked up that they were battling a bit with the high ball. We were sitting, we were sitting like high up at the start of France for the South African game, so we were probably like 10 rows from literally the back, so which was. The Irish game, we were quite close to the field, which was quite nice. You're right there by the players, but it's quite also nice seeing the whole, like it's almost like playing
game unfold.
FIFA football. Yeah, you can see the whole thing in front of you.
The space
and sometimes there's stuff you that you don't see on TV that you see when you're in that scenario. And what we noticed on many occasions from the beginning of the game is that either Peter Steph-Toy or Eben Etzebeth were all the way on the right hand wing, and basically chasing those kicks. So Libok was putting them up, and Peter's like that was clearly a tactic and
game plan.
Fair play to them. It worked. They obviously did a bit of homework there.
I mean, I've got to be realistic as well, or realist. I mean, France were better than us. There's no doubt. We hung in there, as you say, like there were 2 tries that we created out of nothing, which is also good because, we've been accused of not finishing off our chances in that. We certainly did finish pretty much every single chance that we got in that game. I think overall they were probably better than us, not by much, but I think that they were, and we were flippin' resilient to hang in there, bully them as much as we could, and then take our chances later on. I mean, I was watching the last sort of half an hour again the other night. I mean, I think it was 25-19 after 68 minutes, and at that point, I wouldn't say France were comfortable, but I was certainly uncomfortable. And it was just that sort of 2 or 3 minutes we scored 10 points.
Yeah.
And that was it. We kind of blitzed them in that moment. I mean, Cheslin Colby was absolutely incredible. That whole game. I mean, you say you were sitting high. It must have been quite incredible to watch him like bust through some of those gaps in that. Not to mention that charge down. I mean, did you see the charge down? Did you
Yeah. So the
understand?
charge down was right on our side of the field, and
Okay.
it was quite a moment that, and because the French had just scored that try, and the fans were obviously quite enthusiastic around that time, and then Colby did that, and we were like sort of up on our feet, and yeah, I actually said to my brother, I was like, "Yo, how important could that be?" Kind of like down the
Yeah.
line, you know. I mean, the funny thing about that is obviously he's getting a lot of like praise. I mean, there's a lot of people saying he was like miles offside and this and that, whatever. And like, I mean, the oak was kicking from the touchline. Like, there's no, it's not clear whether
No,
that
look,
kick was going over or not, you know. But
they released
whatever.
some footage. I was watching
Hawker,
it today.
they do
Actually,
a hawker.
no, it was just like a different camera angle, and to be honest, I think he got it spot on.
Oh, is
He
it? Okay.
he started running as soon as Ramos started his movement towards the ball, and I think he got it bang on. He said, you know, I played with this oak for years. I know how he kicks. I know, you know, he hasn't changed his style for the last few years. Yeah, I mean, guys were saying he started ahead of the line, and Ramos hadn't started moving it. It's all bull. I mean, you watch this footage; it's pretty damn clear that he got it. Look, it's borderline. There's no doubt, but
Yeah, because
I
what
mean,
is the rule there? Is it like as the oak moves, like any
pretty
part of his
much
body, or
as he starts his move, you know,
to
whatever
kick?
his routine is, his move towards the ball. So it can't be like anything in the middle of his routine if he moves. But I understand it as soon as he starts a move, you know, towards the ball kind of thing, then you can start chasing.
Okay.
So yeah, I think on that basis he got it right. Yeah, it was an unbelievable moment.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I must say, I can scarcely believe that. Like, I mean, in 24 hours, Carl, the All Blacks Argentina game is going to be kicking off. I can scarcely believe in 48 hours the Boks are playing again. I mean, I still feel like I need a couple of weeks to recover from that.
At least this one's on a Saturday.
But they probably weren't. They probably didn't have as many beers after the game as I did, and then.
Although I was watching some videos of their training sessions and that this week, they do look pretty bagged up. I'm
Tired.
not gonna lie. Not tired, but like some wounds and, you know, a couple of gashes. And I mean, I think I've made it pretty vocal on this thing. I'm not Jesse Creel's biggest fan, but I mean, he was monumental.
Yes.
Yeah,
he had a huge game.
He was massive.
Just as like a parting thought going into the semi-finals, I read that the All Blacks didn't make a single handling error in their game. Like they played almost like a perfect game in terms of like infringements. Look, they did give away a couple of penalties here and there, but
breakdown wise,
I mean, a huge lift up of
unbelievable.
A huge lift up of their level. What do you think, sort of, in terms of the semi final? What are you kind of expecting from that game?
To be honest, I think they're going to pace them. I think this is not the greatest Argentine side, as I said. They've done well to get to where they are, obviously, but very, very favourable draw. Wales improved through the tournament, but I still think that Wales were jack shit of a side. So, like England against us in our semi-final, this is Argentina's first like true test. I mean, they were awful in that first game against England. And I think they're catching the All Blacks at the wrong time. The All Blacks seem to be gearing up their level, as you say.
Yeah.
I can't see. Maybe it's recency bias, but I just can't see them getting anywhere near to the All Blacks this weekend. And I think it could be as big a gap as 40 plus. Really, I think they could. I think they could really, really drill them.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because it's the first it's crazy to think, but it's the first time that one of the teams from that side of the draw is meeting a team from like the Premier
Yeah.
League of the draw, you know.
Yeah.
And it's almost like when Brighton City get promoted from the first division, and then their first game is like against Man City, like away, you know.
Or even
And
more,
it's like
this is like the third round of the FA Cup when Manchester City play Barnsley, you know.
that's a bit harsh on Argentina. Come on, man.
Maybe a bit harsh, maybe a bit well.
Look, the one thing I will say is
they haven't been good.
I picked Argentina to beat Wales in the Super Brew, and I feel like Argentina have improved during the tournament for sure.
100%. I mean, they improved in that game because they weren't that great in the first half. They were pretty good in the second half. But I just think the All Blacks' might is just too big.
The problem with
the forwards, the backs.
The problem with the All Blacks is that, and we know this as South Africans over many years. They just need half a meter gap. You just need one defender who isn't sure that he's in the correct place and whatever. And I'm just not convinced that Argentina have got that level of defensive capabilities. They certainly have a lot of attacking capabilities. And they've got a good.
But that's the problem. I mean, Argentina can almost put on like a siege of the All Black line. But if they make one handling mistake, just one, it can end up on the other side. Try the other side, and that's the All Blacks. I mean, they've got guys. Their skill levels are ridiculous. Oaks like Richie Mo'unga. I mean, Geordie Barrett was unbelievable against Ireland. I mean, his holding them up on that one maul. I mean, that was basically the moment that won them the game. And then that series of phases at the end of that game. I mean, what was it? 37 phases.
Unbelievable.
To not give away a single penalty. To be honest, that last penalty that they were awarded, cheapers. It was
touch
very,
and go,
very, very, very touch and go which way it would have gone.
Yeah.
And I think if it had gone the other way,
it
I
probably
think that might have been tickets.
A fair call as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Ireland would have kicked it to the corner and mauled like they did earlier in the game. And their maul looked pretty unstoppable, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean that hold up. I mean,
unbelievable.
You know, in these games, and it's the same for the South African France game. You know, it's such minor differences between the sides, and ultimately, like it happened with us, we got the bounce of the ball, we got maybe a decision go our way, and that kind of is the difference. There's so little between these teams at that level that you just need you just need a little bit of luck, and I think the All Blacks had that to some degree with that hold up of that try. I mean, look, obviously there's a lot of skill in that, but you also still have to just kind of randomly be in the right place. I mean, we're talking about probably a couple of centimeters of where your position is, and the same with the South African, last sort of 5 minutes. They could easily have. I mean, look, I do give credit to South Africa for not giving away a penalty. The French were a little bit on the front foot there, but we defended like Trojans, and then what a rip from Faf. I mean, all time play that to win the game. So okay, so New Zealand, Argentina. What's your call? What's your score?
Actual score or difference?
Margin. Yeah, just give me a margin.
I'll give you a score. I will say 46-14.
Sure. Could be a little bit boring. And South Africa, England? Wait, hang on.
South Africa,
let me say New Zealand, Argentina. I'm not gonna give a score, but I think New Zealand by 15. That's what I'm going to go with on Super Brew. Nice. I'm going to pick that right now, actually. And South actually, I might bump that up to 18, actually, now that we...
South Africa, England, you go first.
South Africa, England. I think that it could be close for 50 minutes. I think that we have got a far superior squad to them, And I think once we bring on, I saw the difference that some of our guys made in the French game. Once we bring on those guys, and you've got Faf and Pollard, and that, I think we'll just slowly pull away. So I'm going to say South Africa by 15. Actually, I'm going to go with that margin. So All Blacks by 18, South Africa by 15.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a funny feeling that England are going to come out of the blocks very fast. They are going to possibly score a try and get a penalty and scare the living shit out of us for about 9 minutes and go up like 10-0, 10-3, something like that. And I think from there, we're going to grind them down and open them up. So if we go 10-0 down, that'll give them 10 points. We'll give them 3 more for the game. That gives them 13. I'm going to say 39-13.
39. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
as
think we're
well.
going to place
If that's the final score, then yes, I'm all in.
I agree with you. I think our team is better, our squad is better, our coaching staff are better. Rassie is a smart guy. He'll suss these oaks out. I just hope. I hope that comes off. As I say, like you said it earlier, win first. That's the priority. But I truly hope that we pace them, and I don't want to end up a shivering wreck on Saturday night. I want it to be, the last 20 minutes playing some champagne rugby, watching Colby score some tries, so that we can. Because if we make it through, we will be shivering wrecks the next weekend. So
absolutely,
I just hope that this one is like a free weekend from that.
Slightly
from that
smoother ride
perspective.
from after 70 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, the one thing I did you just, you talk about scoreboard pressure, and yes, it was a hell of a nice not being the team trying to chase the results in those last like 5 minutes, because my goodness, that clock goes quickly, huh?
Yeah.
They
That's
have one
insane.
scrum and it gets reset 3 times. Well, that's like 3 minutes,
Yeah.
And suddenly, if you're the team chasing, you're going, shit, this is basically over. We've got like a minute and a half, So I would like to see us accumulating some scoreboard pressure on Saturday, because it really does make a difference in the end there.
And I hope our forwards absolutely drill them. That's I really do. So that by the time like Achia Snyman comes on, he can show us his magic, because that oak is sublime. To be honest, he's such a skillful player.
Underrated.
He's huge, big time. I mean, he's unbelievable. Look, I think we've got our starting lineup right, but having him, like you say, having him come on, Faf come on, Handre come on, that's massive. That's absolutely. I mean, who do England have? I don't even know who's on their bench. They certainly don't have. Sure, I mean, is that really going to inject life into a game? Maybe kick a drop goal or two, for sure, but he's not going to run you off your feet. So, it's nerve-wracking, but hopefully Rassie has got it right again. He usually does,
Rassie / Jacques.
Yeah, I mean,
or mainly
they kind of a package, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
When you say Rassie, you mean Jacques. When you say Jacques, you mean Rassie. But they are. I mean,
have you heard that chant that the guys kind of came up with changing the after the Ireland South Africa game, they were singing
the zombie thing.
The zombie thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the game actually against France, there were a whole bunch of South African fans who were singing that. Rassie. It was so good. I must say, I do want to give a shout out to the South African fans. Like, I sometimes have a bit of a sort of traditional view of, like the Brandewyn and Coke and, sort of jean pant and whatever. There was some classic like outfits and oaks in like full springbuck, like actual skins, and like leopard pajamas and like guys went all out and they were good. I thought
full value.
I was proud like of our fans just in the way that they like engaged. They they engaged with the other fans in like a fun manner. So it was. I mean, obviously it's
Nice.
great when you win, but it was nice to see kind of diverse South African fans, not just the sort of maybe more traditional boring fans that we think about.
Yeah.
So
It's lekker.
listen, Carl, very briefly, this is completely changing topics, but the bad news is we are technically still a golf podcast, even though we haven't talked that much golf in the last while. Although Jacques and I did have a good chat about the Ryder Cup, yeah, I want to give a shout out to Jacques because both me and him, some of our predictions were pretty spot on, particularly his prediction of Europe winning. But the bad news is that we aren't the number one golf podcast in South Africa anymore. It's been a dramatic slide down the rankings. I'm not even going to delve into those numbers.
Could also be because we haven't had a podcast for ages. So.
I believe that frequency plays a role in these algorithms.
Yeah.
So no, but
can't fall out the algorithm.
That's tongue in cheek, but it is the LIV Golf team finale this weekend. And if there was one LIV tournament that I watched last year, it was probably this team tournament, I think, because it was match play and it was kind of an interesting format. Are you plugged in at all to what's going on with LIV and going into this weekend, or is it just are we just fully on rugby?
No. I actually am a little bit plugged into it. I actually tried to watch a bit of LIV last weekend, that LIV Jeddah, which I must say was horrific. It was horrific. I mean, you know me.
There were more people at the
not been a fan.
The Netherlands.
I don't want to say I'm a fan of. I don't want to say I'm a fan of LIV, but I'm a fan of the shake-up to golf in general and what that comes with LIV and that kind of stuff in the past. But shit, it has stagnated this year. It has just been so flippin' boring. It is ridiculous. And if any tournament encapsulated it, it was Jeddah. It was just flippin' horrendous. I think I tried to watch it. And the old PGA Tour conditioning came back into my life, where you've picked up the remote and changed the channel and you don't even remember doing it. That's how boring the tournament was. Apart from Adelaide, I must say, but it was horrendous. But I have tried to get my head around it a little bit, and I do think it is their best weekend. I was listening to No Laying Up this week as well, and they were sort of echoing the same thing, saying, well, they don't really care about LIV and it's boring and it's flopped and all that kind of stuff. But, this is the one weekend that they do look forward to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's only 2 days, eh? It's not 3, is that right? I think it's 2 days.
No, well, this is the thing.
3?
So the format for me is both exciting and then very confusing and disappointing because it's 3 days. So
I thought it was 2.
So tomorrow they have the quarterfinals. So essentially that's
yes, the seeded guys at the top get a bye.
Yeah, so the first 4 teams don't play tomorrow. Okay, so the other teams play, and they've got this thing where you can pick who you want to play.
Yes.
So I think Stinger's the South African team finished 5th, so they got first pick. And do you know who they're playing? Do you want to take a guess? Who do you think they picked?
Shit, man, I saw it in passing today. Please tell me it's the Cliques. Oh, it's the Ironheads. It's the Ironheads.
It's the Ironheads.
It's the Ironheads. Yeah. I saw that.
Well, the Ironheads did finish fucking dead last. So, I mean, it seems like a pretty obvious pick.
So the big match up there is obviously Louis Oosthuizen versus Kevin Na.
I thought you were going to say
Siwan Kim.
Siwan. What would have been quite spicy is if they'd picked the Majestics, because there would have been a bit of a South Africa versus England. There's Lee Westwood and Poulter.
So South Africa is playing England in the Cricket World Cup.
In the cricket as well, yeah.
Yeah, so that's quite cool.
But I mean, if you're faced with that choice, I mean, you're probably going to go.
Oh, it's only one choice.
Yeah. So anyway, they play so that it's Fireballs versus Majestics, Ripper versus the Cliques. I believe the Cliques made the podium last weekend, which was that was one for the books. And then Smash versus High Flyers. So, and then essentially whoever wins, I guess the next teams get to pick who they want to play in the semi-finals.
Correct. That's right.
And they play 2 matches of singles match play and one foursomes.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they play alternate shot,
Yeah.
which is a really cool format. Like,
Yeah.
I think I'm really in on that. What I'm not in on is that after the semi-finals, so on Sunday, they're going back to playing stroke play, and all 48 players are playing. So essentially, they're just playing a normal round of live golf, okay? But they're creating 3 brackets. So the 4 teams that make it through to the final, they take the combined score of all the players, and whoever has the best score, they essentially become the team champions.
Yeah,
and then they play for places through 5 to 8 and 9 to 12. So you've got this cool like build up with 2 days of match play, and then it's just like, oh no, we're just playing like basically
massive
another
step
fucking
backwards.
normal shotgun start like round of golf.
Listening to distant music on the 8th tee.
So yeah, it seems like a massive loss. Seems like a massive loss to me that last day, like match play.
So I mean, even talking live, I mean, Jacques and I were chatting about it a little bit. I don't know if you looked at their I think they call it power rankings or whatever it is, their end of year order of merit and the whole relegation thing. And they finally got something that I actually like and agree with that whole relegation thing. But exactly like you've just described with day 3 cocking up the whole thing, is they cock up the whole relegation thing by making the captains exempt. So, I mean, Lee Westwood has had an absolute shocker of a season.
The drop zone.
But he gets to stay. And I can understand Martin Keimer staying. I was saying to Jacques, it's more of like a medical exemption kind of thing on the PGA Tour because he hasn't really played. But, I mean, the Majestics, Terrence, the Majestics have 3 captains. So that makes that only one guy in your whole team can be relegated because the other 3 are co-captains. I mean, it's just... it's the most retarded thing.
That's hilarious. They're all actually down as official captains.
Co-captains. So none of them can be relegated. It's retarded.
They
the
must
worst.
have been rubbing their hands when they signed those contracts.
Well, obviously they have, because the Majestics have been so shit that they clearly don't give a crap. I mean, Stenson won his first tournament when he moved to LIV, and since then I don't think he's even in the lock zone, if that's what it's called.
Listen, Martin Keimer missed the first 3 tournaments, but since then he's basically finished 40th or worst in pretty much every tournament. So
yeah, no, he's been on par with Siwon Kim.
He's super cuck.
So
what happens to these guys now that aren't exempt? Are they gone? Are they done? Chase Koepka, is he out?
I think they referred to that there's some tournament that they can play on the Asian Tour which can get them back in. Hopefully we don't see Siwon Kim back in. And then what was the other thing but the one sort of...
Siwon Kim was one of 2 players who got 0 points the whole season.
Well, wasn't the other one Martin Keimer?
Exactly.
So the only good news story that came out of this whole thing was that, what's his name? I want to say, is it Scott Vincent, the Zimbabwean golfer?
Yeah.
So he qualified for LIV through that whole Asian Tour thing. That's how he got onto LIV. But he needed to finish, I can't remember how high he needed to finish this last weekend, but it was quite high in order to get into the lock zone for LIV for next year's. And obviously, an oak like that, if someone else comes in that is a bigger name, they're going to go ahead of him. So he was basically going to lose his seat or potentially become like a Laurie Cantor and sort of play when other oaks are injured. But because he played so well, he's now locked in for next season. So, I mean, an oak that came from absolutely nowhere, from Zim, has now got his place secured for next year on LIV. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, he must be stoked.
Super stoked.
Yeah,
so that was
Cole. it was. I did try and take Liv seriously. I've completely tapped out of it. Like I just can't. I mean, the one positive thing I will say for them is that this is the first time I've looked at their scoring standings or whatever. I mean, at least sort of the best, probably you'd say the best 5 players on the tour are at least at the top. You've got Cameron Smith, Brooks Koepka, Taylor Gooch, DeChambeau, Johnson. But I mean, I just don't care, and I just can't. The product. I think the issue for me is that the product is shit. Like I can't watch the shotgun start thing with this techno music on the tee boxes and.
So I was saying to Jacques the other day. I mean, I know you're against the shotgun start. I actually quite like the shotgun start, but the music thing gets me. And I don't mind it if it's like music right there next to them on the tee box, like that hole-in-one hole at Adelaide where there's a vibe and that kind of stuff. But when you're on like the 14th, but you can hear the music from the 6th, and it's kind of like in the background and it's getting loud and soft with the wind and stuff like that. I can't do that, and it does. It cocks up the whole atmosphere. Not that there is really an atmosphere anyway, but.
Not in Jeddah, anyway.
I must say, I've also tapped out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe if there was an event in South Africa, that would be pretty cool because I think we would get up for it like the Aussies did. But that's purely because of the not LIV. That's who we would be seeing play. But that would be the only thing that I think could save it potentially, in my opinion. For me personally, as like a South African golf fan, but I've tapped out entirely of it.
Unfortunately, I just
and the
can't
commentary
get into it.
is horrendous. It is terrible. I've struggled this year, I must say.
So I see they're having almost like a qualification tournament. They're obviously trying to, they're trying to do this to sort out this world ranking point things which obviously that news also came out recently that the guys kind of stood their ground and said, look, it's still a closed system. You need to improve that. But I think what will be interesting, to see is from what I understand, this qualification tournament they're having, one of the categories that allows you to go and play in the qualification tournament is they invited the top, I think it's either the top 20 or the top 25 amateur golfers in the world on the amateur golf ranking.
Okay.
And what will be interesting to see is like guys who decide to go like in this direction, So if you go there and you finish high up, like up or whatever, like are guys gonna are people still? Do people still think there's some legitimacy around LIV, particularly with the like the new framework agreement and stuff that they have spoken about? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Who knows? Because it'll kind of validate like, okay, if you've got like 5 of the top, I don't know, 20 or 10 amateurs, they decide to go to LIV. That's kind of a validation for them. And on the same front, if they're like, no, like I'm going to just carry on the college route and then I'm going to go to like PGA Tour.
I think that PGA Tour,
it's a down for LIV.
That PGA Tour qualifying straight out of college that they've now got has changed the game there. I think maybe before that, LIV might have been able to grab a few guys, and maybe they still will, but it will be the bottom sort of tier of that bracket. It's not going to be the top guys. I don't think they're going to go for that anymore. I mean, on the OWGR sort of argument, I mean, I agree with it, I do, but where I do disagree is, I mean, the PGA Tour are pretty much doing the same thing with those elevated events next season, where there's no cut, it's a set field. Those folks are getting OWGR points for that, big points. So it is difficult to like I understand their argument, but they're not like walking the walk either. So, but it's the most disappointing thing is like our best golfers are, from a South African perspective, are on LIV, and you don't see them. We don't really watch them. They haven't performed.
But they kind of crap as well, on LIV. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They haven't performed. Brandon Grace has been okay. I think he's
finished
relatively high
I
on
see.
that.
I finished number 9.
Seventh or something. Oh, nine.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, Louis hasn't been great. Charles obviously won the first tournament, which was a joke. But since then hasn't done anything.
Well,
Dean
Louis
Burmester is,
finished.
credit to
Halfway
him.
in the field. 24th, Louis finished. So that's not good.
That's ridiculous.
In that strength field, like, I mean, they're not playing. They're not taking it seriously. Let's be honest. Like,
I think that's
there's
the
no
problem.
ways they're taking it seriously.
I mean, oaks like Louis, Henrik Stenson, Ian Poulter, Sergio Garcia, all of those oaks. I mean, come on, you oaks finishing that low on on LIV. Like, what the hell? What are you oaks doing? Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, man. I really just hope we've got some of our young golfers who are now, there's no one really on the PGA Tour that I think's gonna break out and win like a major or two. But I'm looking a little bit further down to some of our youngsters in the sort of early 20s.
Christo Lamprecht.
Yeah,
Christo
some of those guys who
Christian Moss
showing like a lot of promise. Did
you see Lamprecht
we need
was
someone
the
to
number
get
one
behind.
amateur in the world.
Lamprecht, top amateur in the world, which is that's huge.
It's epic.
Yeah,
it's massive. Yeah, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see whether this LIV weekend changes our views. I don't think it will.
I don't think it will, but I'm still gonna. I reckon it might be some maybe pre-rugby viewing on Saturday. So maybe it will be on around 7ish, 5ish, 6ish. Maybe there'll be some. I like watching match play. I think they've got a nice format. And they're gonna have four matches. They're gonna have a bunch of match play like matches on it. It's 4 teams playing each other at the same time. So, I think I'll tune in and give them a little bit of airtime. But definitely not on Sunday. Not for the stroke play. Finale.
And I mean, also talking golf. If we off LIV, I mean, it's lekker to see a nice strong field at the Nedbank again. That's been quite cool. Seeing some of those names pop up. Max Homer, Justin Thomas. I think Justin Rose is playing. Tommy Fleetwood. So that's really cool again.
It's gonna be a good field.
That would be one that in other circumstances I would have loved to have gone to. But
that's not going to be possible for you.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Although I did suggest that there's an airstrip there, and I could get home relatively quickly. But
how close? What is the margin? How close are we? Is it minus 1 week?
What is the date of the Nedbank?
That's a good question. I think it's around. Is it like the 15th of November? Somewhere around there.
It was.
Or earlier, actually. It's the 9th to the 12th.
Okay.
So
so it's about 2 weeks before D-Day.
Yeah, jeez, that's plenty of time, man. You'd be surprised how quickly those private jets can fly.
Have to borrow Simon Williams.
All right, Carl. Well, we've done well here. We've managed to talk about non-golf for at least an hour. And then we've given some homage to our favorite golf tour in the world. But it was nice to catch up, man.
Yeah.
How's the game? Have you played any golf lately, or has it been a bit of a dry spell?
No, we actually played. Was it okay? Not this week. Not this weekend right now, but the weekend before we played Champagne Sports.
Nice.
We were there for a work thing and played 18 holes on the Sunday, and it was really, really, really lekker.
Awesome.
Really enjoyed it. Played a nice front nine. I think I shot 46 for 21 points, which is obviously really nice.
Solid.
And played decently on the back nine, but just lost my way a little bit. Also found my way into a few bunkers, which I couldn't get out of. which was frustrating.
Always easier to get into, yeah.
Yeah, it's like couldn't get out of them motherfuckers. But anyway, so I didn't bring it home in as much style, but I love that golf course, man. It's such a lacquer design. It's so much fun. There's some really, really interesting holes, like really cool holes. So no, we had a great time. It was lacquer. And you?
Yeah, it's a good track. No, I haven't played for a bit. The last time I played was just before the Ryder Cup. I played in the Hunt Cup.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, that was just a little 9-hole sojourn. So I was supposed to play today at Victoria, but just it was not feasible with all the travel that I've done, and still chasing my tail after being overseas for like 10 days, 12 days. So got a couple of games lined up in like the next 2 weeks. I want to go check out Beechwood and see what's happening there with their new little 10-hole course that's up and running. And then I got a game at Schlali in like 2 weeks as well. So looking forward to that.
Nice.
Alrighty, Brew. Okay. Well, let's call it a night. Thanks for joining my one-man podcast. Well, soon to be one-man podcast. It was nice of you to take a night off bingo.
Yeah, no, that's also true. That was also very interesting.
When's the next bingo round?
Next week, Thursday.
Okay.
It seems. So I would have patched in had the not been on 2 bars of edge on the phone.
Okay. Connectivity problem.
It was horrific there. Obviously, the old people don't have internet.
They like
a need for podcasting.
They like to keep the signal low around those retirement places. They want to keep them on a bit of a lockdown. It's sort of like a minimum security prison. Those places. So
yeah, no, I didn't see too many guys sitting around doing podcasts. So couldn't tap in.
Streaming Netflix on their cell phones while they're playing bingo.
Jeez, but you'd be surprised. It was
lively.
It was a lot more popular than you think. I think there were like 75 people there or something.
Really?
It was hopping, man.
Yes.
Hopping.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we need a full kind of report back on the next one. Maybe
I'll take some vids.
Some video footage, yeah, please.
Yeah, hundreds.
Good call.